Hello and welcome back to my channel Health and Wellness with Emma Mentel, and also to the Instagram and Facebook fans or viewers and community. I wanted to do an update about immune support. In South Africa where I live, we're now in the winter season and I've really left it very late, but rather late than never. I thought I'll just share with you some of the combinations and regimes that I use in my practice and also for myself, not just during winter, but especially when people around me keep getting sick, or when I'm in a meeting or around people who aren't well. So for me, something that's an everyday immune support would be a vitamin C. This is one of the products that I often recommend, a NutriC, but I also have a few others that I work with, including the Metagenics Ultra Potent C or the Viridian capsules, the Extra C. Now, depending on where you live, you might try to find different options. I often muscle test with my clients to see which product for them is going to be most supportive. The dosage I usually work with would be 1,000 milligram for healthy people a day. If somebody is very fatigued and they tend to get sick a lot, I would increase that dosage and always look for bowel tolerance. So people say, I can't take that much, I'm not going to absorb it. We dose up with vitamin C, especially during infections, up to bowel tolerance. So dosing frequent doses every hour or 2 hours, up to the point where someone develops loose stools. Now, this is not a recommendation for everybody. Obviously, when I work with someone in my practice or when I make suggestions to someone that I have worked with, I will know what that person can tolerate. For me personally, what I have done for many years is to take my good daily dose of at least 1,000. If there's a lot going on or if I'm traveling, I will increase that dosage. And at the first sign of a niggle or infection, or if I feel a slight scratchy throat, I will start to increase my dosages of vitamin C. So I adjust that depending on where I'm at, what's going on. If I feel it's been a very busy week or I might have not slept very well, I might increase my dosages. Also, for some people who've had adverse effects from the COVID injection, I recommend a higher dosage most of the time, up to 4,000 milligrams in divided doses. But again, that will be discussed in in-person one-on-one consultation. So vitamin C for me is a part of the foundation of immune support. People who are very stressed, very tired, who travel a lot, exposed to a lot of pollution, for example, will have higher requirements. If someone is very busy and they don't get a chance to eat and they're not sleeping, I might actually work with a slightly higher dose. So again, I will adjust the dosage depending on what someone is going through or their individual requirements at the time. So I work with various vitamin C products. That for me always foundation. I also really love zinc. This is one of the zincs. It's the Viridian zinc complex that I work with. If you think that you're prone to getting sick during winter time or when you travel, or if you're around people who get sick all the time, you might want to increase your zinc dose as well. So now, if we're looking, for example, at a vitamin C and zinc combination, you've now already armed your immune system with 2 fighters that can help support you. I like to use the term immune support, not boosting the immune system. Although it might be doing that, it's actually supporting it. And then to get to some of really my favorite combinations, I've blended 2 into a 50 ml tincture, but the MediHerb olive leaf tincture, as well as something that I never want to be without in my office is the Echinacea Premium Blend. This is a very strong blend of Echinacea, and it's a practitioner only product, so you will only get that from a healthcare practitioner. For some people, I just give Echinacea on its own, but now in winter time, I've combined the two in a half-half, 50-50 Echinacea and olive leaf tincture. And what are the characteristics, or what are the benefits of Echinacea or Echinacea and olive leaf? I have been a big fan of olive leaf extract, either in a capsule form or tablet form or tincture form, for the longest time. It's really made some big differences for me in my own personal health, especially with chronic things going on. But this Echinacea is also just absolutely brilliant. So I think of Echinacea support in two ways. You can either do it as a maintenance, so when there's nothing acute going on, but you know it's winter, you're going to be traveling, people around you are unwell, you might just take a few drops, 15 drops, 2 or 3 times a week or every day, and then you will increase that dose when you are unwell. So in that maintenance phase, you'll just use a lower dose, and when you start to feel unwell, you will increase that dose. So I think of Echinacea being beneficial to relieve symptoms during a cold or a flu, or some respiratory tract infection, a cough, a sore throat. But it'll also help then to reduce the incidence so that you don't get sick again shortly thereafter. Also in other acute viral things like shingles, cold sores, you can definitely start to dose with your Echinacea to help shorten the duration of that infection. It also would work extremely well for something like allergies, hay fever, sinusitis, sort of the more chronic things that might be going on. And for somebody who might have insufficient immune response, for example, very fatigued, very worn out, or very burnt out, and then getting sick all the time, or struggling to get better, struggling to fight off an infection, something like your Echinacea and your Echinacea and olive leaf blend might be really supportive for that. As an example, I used olive leaf for a few things for myself personally. For a chronic glandular fever that just kept on recurring, I took olive leaf extract for a long time, and it is, for me, a natural antiviral, natural antibiotic, natural antifungal. So that really helped to clear out while I was doing the rest of the support. I always say with olive leaf though, watch out if you're prone to low blood pressure, or if you're not sure about low blood pressure, that it might actually reduce hypertension, might help that, so watch out for that. But it also is actually a cardiovascular tonic, so it's very versatile for that. So if you want to take something maybe every week to prevent illness, you can do the Echinacea or the Echinacea and olive leaf, and then when you get sick or when you're around somebody who's unwell and then you start to feel like the symptoms are niggling, then you can just take a higher dose. A big favorite of mine for the last few years, very controversial, but I use that a lot for myself and for clients, is an ivermectin. So I use it as an antiparasitic for people who have pets, or people who might have worms for whatever reason, but also it's such a good antiviral. And I would take it Typically when I travel, I would take a dose for a few days. I've been taking a few doses every month for years now. And also at the very first symptom of a cold or a cough or a scratchy throat, I would take a course of about 5 days. And I've seen that symptoms really resolve very quickly. So I do combinations. I never just use one thing. Each of these products have got their own unique benefits. And I find that when I combine these and when I really support my body at the first sign of an infection, that it shifts very quickly, usually within hours, definitely the same day. But if I do, for whatever reason, get really unwell for a few days, I continue dosing, and that then ensures that it doesn't develop into any secondary infection, and I usually can manage really well with the combination. This is what I would normally combine. I might add a few other things. This is a graviola. Graviola also got some Sutherlandia, and this for sort of more chronic infections or people who are recovering from cancer, for example, or HIV, that debilitating fatigue where they just can't get on top of something. I might want to add something like that. If someone has been on a course of antibiotics, or if the digestive tract is struggling, I would definitely add some probiotics and encourage them to consider taking probiotics long term. I think of the digestive tract as the first line of defense of the immune system. So when that is not happy, or when that's been compromised, your immune system is already going to be on the back foot. So I want to support all the areas that play a role for when we need to fight off something. And I can honestly say, for me, yes, I do aggressive combinations, but it has really served me. It's really helped me to not get sick very often. When I do get sick, it might, take half a day or a day to get over whatever the symptoms are. And then every few years, when there's something that takes a bit longer to shift, this ensures that I don't require an antibiotic, and that I get rid of that sort of lingering cough or lingering runny nose, or whatever is going on at the time, including for conditions like your cold sores that might resurface when you're under stress or when you're tired, or something like shingles or glandular fever, those kind of things. But there's no hard and fast rule. I usually adjust the combinations for each client depending on what they're working with. But this is just an example of my sort of toolkit that I would use from a supplement or a product point of view. Other mentions would be obviously to ensure adequate sleep and rest. I think a lot of the reason why people don't get better is that they carry on with their normal stuff. They don't take a day off work. They don't get into bed and keep warm. And that way the immune system sort of can't harness all the energy that it needs to recover and to fight off an infection. So rest and taking time off, usually it feels like you're not going to be productive for a day or two, but you might get over your symptoms a lot faster. So it's always helpful to do that kind of support of rest, getting adequate sleep, having foods like broths, healthy meals. If you don't have an appetite, then fast. Fasting might actually help to sort out whatever is going on as a completely different kind of support that one might not necessarily consider. But at least make yourself a good healthy broth, bone broth, keep warm. Chicken soup, I know for many people that we have this association with the beautiful, warming chicken soup. I also like to say that you can try some apple cider vinegar with some fresh ginger, maybe some lemon as a warming drink, especially when there's congestion, when you feel you've got a blocked nose, you've got to blow your nose. Something else that I've often mentioned to clients and to family is to try not to take a decongestant or something that dries up the mucus. If you have a runny nose, that's part of how your body is trying to eliminate what is going on. If you take something to dry up a runny mucus, you might make that mucus thick and sticky. Now it can't drain, and that might now turn into a more chronic sinus infection. So let the body use its intelligent system that it has to try and eliminate whatever is going on. And if that means coughing and running nose, support that. Have the warming drinks like the ginger or the apple cider vinegar. You can also gargle with your Echinacea if you dilute it in water. Gargle in the throat. Just all those mucous membranes can do with all the support they need. And then if you try this a few times, you might start to notice that over time your body can fight things off better and easier. So if you're traveling, if you've been around people who are unwell, working in an office environment, if you've not been getting good rest, if you've just been generally neglecting yourself and you don't want your body to start to feel compromised and getting sick, just consider some of these options. I also sell products from my office in Durban, so if you want a more personalized strategy, I can help you with that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're all going to keep well and warm. Fortunately, where I am in Durban, we don't have a very severe cold winter, so I mean the scarf really is just for effect to lighten up the grey. And I will do a few other updates this week about a few other things and where I'm at. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and please let me know what you normally would do if you start to get sick and if you would like to try something different.